Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are getting into a really interesting set of sources, kind of bundled under this title: the billionaire mindset, belief, mastery, and divine power.
That's right.
And, this isn't your typical business strategy stuff. It's much more about, well, the internal game, the architecture inside.
Exactly. It's a real synthesis. You see threads from, say, Napoleon Hill that focus on goals, on definite plans, but then it's woven together with these um, deeper, almost spiritual principles you might find in someone like Neville Goddard.
Right, the consciousness side of things.
Yeah. The whole philosophy is that real, lasting success, it comes from reprogramming things at the root level inside you, not just tweaking the business plan.
Okay, so our mission today is basically to unpack that, to sort of cut through the buzzwords and find the actual mechanisms they're describing. How does this philosophy define what really matters for success? Because they argue it's not just capital, it's things like self-mastery, this unwavering conviction, and something called energetic alignment.
That's the core of it.
So if you're listening and wondering about the operating system behind that kind of high-level achievement thinking, well, we're going to try and map it out.
Great place to start is the absolute foundation, belief.
Okay.
And in these lectures, belief isn't presented as, just a nice idea or wishful thinking. It's positioned as the actual substance reality is built from.
Yeah, I found that really striking. They're very clear. Belief is not logical. You don't reason your way into it with charts and data.
No.
It has to be like an emotional command. Something felt deep down in the nervous system, embodied almost. It's a physical state, not just a thought.
That's the absolute hinge point. And it leads us straight to that famous Napoleon Hill line.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. We've all heard it, but how do they break it down?
Well, conceive is about forming an image, but not just any image. It has to be so clear, so vivid, so detailed.
That the subconscious mind basically just accepts it.
Yeah.
Like it's already happened.
Exactly, as present reality. But then comes the really hard part, according to these sources.
The believe step.
Right. This means holding on to that conceived image, that feeling of it being real, with absolute conviction, even
When everything around you is screaming the opposite, when the real world mocks you, doubts you, spits in your face, as one of them put it rather dramatically.
It's dramatic, but that's the level of intensity they're talking about. And the mechanism they propose for achieve, it's almost anticlimactic.
How so?
They essentially say the universe just catches up. It has to. It aligns with the dominant certainty you're projecting. Your inner state literally commands the outer result.
Okay, but let me push back slightly. That sounds like it could verge on, well, delusion, right? If all the facts are saying no, how do you maintain that certainty without just ignoring reality?
But they'd say that is the test. That's the mastery. It's not ignoring reality. It's imposing your internal reality. And they connect this to neuroplasticity.
The brain's ability to rewire itself.
Exactly. The argument is your brain doesn't actually prioritize objective truth. It prioritizes consistency. It wants your actions and results to match your deepest beliefs.
Which is why affirmations in this model aren't just positive thinking.
No, they're framed as neurological programming. You're consciously trying to install a new belief, a new consistent signal.
So if I keep repeating, I'm a magnet for wealth, and I manage to generate the feeling, the emotional conviction behind it.
Even if your bank balance is zero today.
I'm essentially forcing my brain to build a new pathway. And because the subconscious hates that inconsistency between the belief and the current reality, it starts driving actions to close the gap.
That's precisely the model they present. And the fuel for that whole process, the absolute driver, is certainty.
Not talent, not hard work.
Those matter, of course. But the ultimate reward, they claim, goes to the most certain. Certainty isn't just a feeling, it's described as this kind of energetic dominance. You project it.
And the flip side of that coin is doubt, which they call the ultimate dream killer.
Worse than failure, apparently, because doubt, as they put it, rots the roots before the tree even grows.
You can recover from a business failing, maybe learn from it.
Right. But doubt stops you from even planting the seed. You never even start.
Okay, so belief is the bedrock. What's built on top of that? What's this inner architecture they talk about?
This is where the idea comes in that success isn't really attracted, it's constructed, first in the mind. The outer world is just reflecting your inner blueprint.
Which brings us to that common problem. Self-sabotage. Why do we know what to do but still mess it up?
This is where they bring in Dr. Maxwell Maltz and psychocybernetics. It's a powerful analogy. Think of your self-image, your deep down belief about who you are, as a kind of thermostat or an autopilot.
Okay.
Your conscious mind might say, I want to be wealthy, like setting a destination for the Caribbean. But if that subconscious autopilot, your core self-image, is set to, I'm not worthy, or I always struggle with money, like it's locked onto Siberia.
Then your behavior unconsciously will steer you towards Siberia no matter how much you consciously want the Caribbean.
Exactly. You'll make mistakes, miss opportunities, maybe even lose money you gain until your outer reality matches that inner thermostat setting again.
So the real work isn't fixing the bank account first, it's fixing the internal self-image, the blueprint.
That's the argument. You fix the identity, and the circumstances have to follow. And closely tied to this self-image is your emotional state, or what they call your frequency.
Right, they reference ideas like Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness, suggesting emotions have like measurable vibrations. Fear is low, joy is high, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the principle is simple. You attract experiences and opportunities that resonate with the frequency you're habitually operating on.
So if you're stuck in lower emotions like fear, resentment, guilt,
Yeah.
you literally can't even perceive the higher frequency opportunities. They're just invisible to you.
It's like being tuned to the wrong radio station. The signal for the opportunity is broadcasting, but you're not tuned in to receive it. And this leads to a really interesting concept they call emotional debt.
Emotional debt, what's that?
Think about the energy you expend every day on worry, on regret about the past, on holding grudges, on feeling guilty. That's energy you could be investing in creating, building, moving forward.
Ah, so it's like emotional capital being wasted on non-productive things.
Precisely. And that's why forgiveness in this context isn't just presented as a moral virtue, it's framed as emotional leverage.
Leverage. How so?
By forgiving others, yourself, past events, you essentially clear that emotional debt off your balance sheet. You stop paying that daily interest of negative emotion.
And that frees up a huge amount of energy.
Massive amounts.
Yeah.
Energy you can then reinvest into raising your vibration, focusing on your goals. It clears the way.
That's a powerful reframe. It's not about being nice. It's about being effective with your inner resources.
And it's not about just suppressing negative emotions either. They talk about emotional transmutation.
Meaning?
Anger, frustration, even fear.
Okay.
These aren't necessarily enemies to be avoided. They're actually very powerful fuels. High-octane energy.
So instead of letting anger make you lash out or fear paralyze you,
True emotional intelligence, drawing again from Hill, means learning to recycle that raw energy. Channel it. Turn anger into focused action. Turn fear into heightened awareness and planning. You harness the storm.
okay, harnessing the storm. That sounds like it requires serious action. Which brings us to mastery in motion.
Yeah.
We've got the belief, the inner architecture. Now, what about actually doing things consistently?
And here the sources are, let's say, very dismissive of relying on motivation.
Really, motivation gets a bad rap.
They call it unreliable, even a scam, because motivation is based on feeling. It comes and goes.
And feelings are fickle.
Exactly. Discipline, on the other hand, is presented as something permanent, almost divine. It's what you do regardless of how you feel. The quote is something like, if you only act when you feel ready, you'll spend your life waiting.
Ouch. That hits home. So it's about building systems, not waiting for inspiration.
Absolutely. And they often emphasize the power of ruthless, non-negotiable rituals, especially in the early morning. That 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. window is often cited as, like, sacred creation time.
The time when empires are built, supposedly, before the distractions kick in.
That's the idea. It's about building momentum when the world is quiet. But they also offer practical tools for day-to-day stuff, like the 5-minute rule.
Ah, yes, if it takes less than 5 minutes.
Do it immediately. Don't let it pile up. It's a simple tactic, but powerful for breaking inertia and that habit of procrastination we all fight.
Okay, hold on. So I need the unwavering belief, the perfect self-image, and I have to get up at 4 a.m. That sounds intense. Maybe a bit much for everyone listening.
Well, they would probably argue that mastering that early discipline makes everything else easier. It builds the muscle. But okay, let's shift from personal discipline to how this translates into, well, wealth at scale. That brings us to the law of value exchange.
Right. This feels like a crucial shift from the internal work to the external contribution.
Totally. The core idea is simple. Money always follows value. Always. It doesn't primarily follow effort or hours clocked. It follows delivered value.
So the fundamental question you should ask yourself isn't, how do I make more money?
No. According to this philosophy, the question must be, how can I make other people's lives significantly easier or richer or happier? And how can I do that at scale?
Solve a bigger problem, provide more value.
And the money becomes almost a natural byproduct, a consequence of that value exchange.
And when you start thinking and acting like that, focusing on contribution, that must change how you interact with people, how you network.
Immensely. You stop approaching networking from a place of what can I get or seeking validation. Instead, you focus on how can I contribute? How can you become indispensable to the right people?
Which leads directly into Napoleon Hill's mastermind principle.
Yes. The idea of coordinating minds working together in perfect harmony towards a definite purpose. But they add a layer of what they call energetic hygiene.
Energetic hygiene sounds like avoiding energy vampires.
Pretty much. They're quite blunt about it. One quote is, "Your net worth will never exceed your network's vibration."
Wow. So the people you associate with are literally setting your financial ceiling, in a way.
Or, more accurately, your energetic ceiling. They view people as walking Wi-Fi routers. Every interaction is either upgrading or downgrading your personal frequency, your mindset, your possibilities.
So choose your network very, very carefully.
It's paramount. And it's not about quantity. It's about the quality and the level of connection. They talk about 3 levels.
Okay, what are they?
Transactional, just based on exchange. What can I get? Relational, based on friendship, rapport, what can we share? But the highest level...
It's transformational.
Exactly, where the question becomes, who can we become together? What amazing things can we create or achieve through our combined energy and vision? Those are the legacy-level partnerships.
Legacy. That seems to be the ultimate destination in this whole mindset map,
Yeah.
moving beyond just personal success.
Right. The final stage isn't just success, it's achieving significance,
Right.
creating something meaningful that outlasts you. As they say, the goal isn't just to leave riches, but to leave richness.
And legacy here isn't just like a warm, fuzzy feeling. They describe it as architectural.
Yes, very deliberately. It has to be a system. Something built on principles that can operate independently of the founder's personality or presence.
What are the key components of that architecture?
They lay out 4 pillars, typically. Purpose, the driving why behind it all. People developing and multiplying leadership, not just followers. Philosophy before pet beliefs and operating principles, like the system's DNA. And finally, perpetuation.
Perpetuation, making it last.
Making the founder unnecessary, essentially. That's the true test. If the whole thing relies on one person and collapses when they leave, it wasn't a true legacy, it was just a vehicle for that person. The architecture needs to be sound enough to keep delivering value indefinitely.
Okay, this is a huge scope. From inner belief all the way to perpetual legacy systems. Let's bring in the final piece. They discuss this idea of divine alignment.
This is where it gets quite spiritual or metaphysical. The billionaire spirit, as they sometimes call it, is fundamentally about realizing your connection to or identity as an extension of a greater intelligence. Source, God, the universe, the terminology varies.
And this power isn't just abstract, it's channeled.
Through what they call the God frequency, which sounds like a kind of ultimate flow state. A state where intuition becomes your primary guide and reality seems to, well, bend more easily to your focused intention.
And this puts intuition above intellect.
In many situations, yes. Intellect, based on past data and logic, gives you probability. It tells you what's likely. Intuition, which they frame as the GPS of God, is seen as providing precision, a direct download, bypassing logic, showing you the exact path, even if it seems illogical.
So trusting that inner nudge, that gut feeling, could ultimately be more profitable than just running the numbers.
That's the assertion. Logic has its place, but intuition gives you the edge, the insight that transcends the known data. And their view on prayer really ties this all together.
How do they define prayer in this context?
Crucially, it's not begging. It's not God, please give me X. It's defined as programming.
Programming, like affirmations again.
Similar, but perhaps deeper. It's stating the reality you wish to experience as already complete. Thank you, God, that this is already done. It requires aligning your words, your emotions, and your energy into that state of fulfillment now.
So it's spiritual synchronization. You're aligning yourself with the reality you intend to manifest, closing that belief loop we started with.
Exactly. It brings it all full circle.
Okay, so just to recap the journey we've traced here, it starts with mindset, which consciously cultivates belief. That belief, held with certainty, fuels the discipline needed for consistent action. That action, focused on value, attracts an aligned network.
Which supports the creation of systems leading to legacy. And underlying it all is this connection to or alignment with a higher intelligence or frequency.
It's quite a comprehensive model, moving from the deeply internal to the widely external.
And ultimately, it all seems to hinge on where you, the individual, decide to set your internal limits. Because if that foundation, your core belief about yourself, is flawed or limited, the whole empire you try to build on top of it is unstable. It rests on that identity. Which leads perfectly into the final, really provocative thought they often leave listeners with. It's quite potent.
What is it?
It's this. The biggest prison is not bars of iron. It's your limited self-image. Break that image and you break every chain.
Powerful stuff. So the real frontier isn't out there in the market.
No. The final frontier, the place where your true empire is built or lost, is right inside you. Start building there. Okay, imagine this. Someone tells you that the life plan you've probably been following, work hard for decades, save up, retire comfortably at 65, isn't just a bit off, but it's actually a trap. A lie, even. How does that land?
It's pretty confrontational, isn't it? And that's exactly the kind of aggressive language we're diving into today. We're looking at source material that takes that traditional path and just, well, attacks it. It claims that if freedom and wealth are your goals, then following the standard 9 to 5 is basically a setup for dependency.
That really is a provocative hook. We're exploring a philosophy that has roots in Napoleon Hill's work. He claimed he'd figured out the laws used by giants like Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller.
Right, the titans of industry. And the claim is these guys didn't get rich and free by playing by the rules everyone else follows. They supposedly saw through the lie, as the source puts it, and engineered their own way out.
So, our mission in this deep dive is to unpack that critique. It's pretty intense. The source essentially asks, if you spend 40 years working hard, being loyal, and you still end up with a pension that's too small to live on, or you're constantly worried about money running out, who really owned your life during all that time?
Exactly. It forces this confrontation between two mindsets, the mindset of labor versus the mindset of leverage.
Let's start right there, because that division is key, isn't it? The philosophy argues something most people probably don't consider. Work alone will never make you free. That loyalty to a job, while praised, actually leads to scarcity.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how they define the difference. It's not just about working harder or smarter. We're taught effort equals reward, right? But this source insists the type of effort is way more critical than just how much effort you put in.
Okay, spell that out, because it sounds a bit like work smarter, not harder, but you're saying it's more specific.
It is. Labor, in this view, is basically using your body, trading your time, which is linear and finite, for someone else's dream, someone else's vision.
Finite, yeah. You only have so many hours.
Right. But wealth, according to this philosophy, comes from commanding your thought. That's what builds leverage. Money, they argue, follows thought, not just time clocked in. The reward doesn't go to the person who merely shows up. It goes to the person who designs the system that multiplies effort way beyond their own physical time.
That Carnegie example really clicks here, I think. He wasn't just working hard in the traditional sense. He was operating on a totally different level than the people he employed.
Precisely. Carnegie wasn't down there swinging hammers himself, day in, day out. He designed an empire. His real work was mental organizing systems, getting resources, putting the right people in place. He built this engine, basically. Processes and materials that made money even when he was asleep. That's leverage.
And the reason most of us miss this, the source claims, is programming. It starts young. We're trained, almost conditioned, to link hours worked directly to income earned. Time becomes the currency of the poor, essentially.
And it's a currency that's always running out. You can't get more of it. So freedom, in this context, means owning your thoughts, owning the systems you create, owning your purpose. If you don't own those things,
then someone else owns your loyalty.
That's the implication. The source uses really stark language here, calling it a form of modern slavery, almost. It's harsh, maybe overly so for some, but the point is to shock you into seeing economic dependency as a kind of control mechanism.
Speaking of shock value, that brings us to the critique of retirement. Calling the traditional retirement plan the lie they gave slaves so they wouldn't revolt. Wow, that feels incredibly cynical.
It is, absolutely. But again, it's designed to shake up your core beliefs about security and reward. The argument isn't necessarily don't save money. It's more about questioning the premise of waiting maybe 40 years for permission to actually live your life.
Okay.
The source argues the system isn't really about saving for freedom. It's about saving to delay collapse, just keeping things patched up.
But wait a second. For most people, retirement savings, like a 401k or a pension, is the main safety net. Isn't this view kind of irresponsible, like telling people to just jump without a parachute?
That's a really fair point. And the philosophy tackles it by redefining what security means. It argues the traditional system gives you just enough security so you won't bolt,
Hmm.
and just enough hope, maybe through small raises or promotions, so you don't demand real ownership or control.
Hmm.
The real risk from this perspective is the risk of inaction, the risk of waiting your whole life.
Hmm. And that line is chilling. The man who waits until 65 to start living was never alive to begin with. Mm. It calls delayed vision
Yeah.
death, essentially, if the reward only comes when you're too worn out to actually enjoy it.
Yeah. So the wealth formula they propose is the polar opposite of just saving and rationing. It's about actively building wealth through creating value, making bold decisions, having the courage to step off that predictable assembly line.
Like Henry Ford.
Exactly. He didn't become a millionaire by saving his wages. He created the assembly line system itself, which massively multiplied output.
Mm.
His focus was creation, system building, not just earning and saving.
So if the system encourages this cycle, this waiting game, where does that programming start? The source points a finger directly at traditional education.
Right. The assertion is pretty blunt. Schools are designed to produce cogs, not creators. It's training for compliance, basically. Preparing students to fit into someone else's vision, not necessarily to build their own.
And the lessons taught, they list them out. Sit down, be quiet, memorize, repeat, obey, ask permission. Which, okay, you need some order in a classroom, but those are the opposite of entrepreneurial skills.
Totally. The argument is that the builders, the wealth creators, do the exact opposite. They stand up, question things, imagine new ways, act without waiting for approval. They use that Thomas Edison example.
Oh yeah, the paradox.
Right. Edison was basically kicked out of school, deemed difficult or slow. Yet he goes on to change the world through sheer belief and persistence. The irony, the source points out, is that the system now celebrates his name, but actively punishes the spirit he lived by because it demands conformity.
So if schools focus on obedience, what crucial skills are being left out, according to this philosophy, the stuff Hill emphasizes?
Well, it's the laws of wealth, as they call them. Things like cultivating imagination, building unwavering faith or belief in your goal, and systematically using your mind through techniques like having a definite purpose and using autosuggestion.
And why are these omitted?
The source's answer is stark. Obedient workers don't need wealth, they just need enough to survive and keep the system running.
That really shifts the perspective on a typical job, doesn't it? Part 4 defines a job not as a career path, but more like a placeholder, or even a cage with polite walls.
Yeah, it's seen as something that solves an immediate need, paying the bills, but it can't fulfill that deeper calling or purpose. So the strategy isn't quit your job immediately, necessarily,
Okay, good.
but to use it strategically. Use the job as leverage. Use the income as funding. Use the environment as a learning ground, but always with the aim of building your own path to freedom, not just settling in.
That story about Edwin C. Barnes nails this. He takes a low-paying clerk job with Edison, right? But his actual mission, his definite chief aim, was to become Edison's partner.
Exactly. The clerk job was just a means to an end. It got him in the room. He didn't care about the wage itself. He cared about proximity to his goal. Once he achieved that partnership, he left the clerk role behind without a second thought. He was using the tool, not serving it.
And that term, definite chief aim, keeps coming up. For someone listening who isn't familiar with Hill's jargon, what exactly is that? It sounds important.
Oh, it's absolutely central. It's more than just like a vague goal or a wish. A definite chief aim is a precise, written-down statement. It details exactly what you intend to achieve, what you'll give in return for it, the price you'll pay in effort or resources, and the specific date you plan to possess it.
So it turns a fuzzy dream into a concrete demand, almost, backed by a plan.
It's the blueprint, the mental architecture. And this connects directly to what the philosophy calls the spiritual laws of fortune. The source insists that wealth creation is spiritual before it is material.
Now, spiritual here doesn't necessarily mean religious, right? It's more foundational.
Exactly. It refers to the non-physical, the mental. The idea is that money, or any result really, comes from alignment. Getting your thoughts, your core beliefs, your words, your actions, and your plans all pointing in the same direction. It's about mental command, creating the physical reality.
And the examples given are people like Rockefeller.
Right, cited for honoring stewardship, seeing money management almost as a divine responsibility, including tithing. Then there's Carnegie, who supposedly mastered the mastermind principle, We should probably define that too. It's another key piece of jargon.
Yeah, good call. If the definite chief aim is the destination, what's the mastermind?
The mastermind principle is essentially your vehicle, or maybe your power source. He'll define it as coordinating knowledge and effort between two or more people, all working towards that same definite purpose. The idea is that this creates a kind of third, synergistic, superior mind, basically. Surround yourself with capable people who share and support your vision. Don't try to go it alone.
Okay, and Edison. His key was belief.
Yes, applying the invisible law of belief through autosuggestion, which is another technique. It's the process of deliberately feeding your subconscious mind the beliefs and emotions tied to your goal over and over until your subconscious accepts it as reality and starts working to manifest it.
It sounds like it all boils down to mental programming. The source really hammers this. The subconscious mind is the builder of all results.
Right. So if your internal chatter, your repeated thoughts and feelings are about defeat, delay, lack, then that's what your subconscious is building orders for. Autosuggestion is about consciously taking control of that process, using repetition charged with strong positive emotion to issue orders for victory, for abundance, for achieving that definite aim.
It's a stark contrast. Undirected physical effort leads to sweat, but maybe not much else. But directed mental effort, precision thought, that can achieve huge results relatively quickly.
And that precision comes from habits, daily habits, which brings us to how easily we can get trapped by the wrong habits.
Yeah, part 5 talks about slavery by familiarity. Not literal chains, but the chains of unexamined routines. Things like waking up late, mindlessly consuming news or social media. Instead of creating something, just reacting to emails and demands all day.
Exactly. It feels normal, maybe even comfortable, but it's fundamentally submitting to an external rhythm, not setting your own internal one.
So to fight this, the philosophy offers a very specific structure. A wealth-building rhythm, they call it. The 3 commands.
Yes, a framework for taking control of that subconscious programming.
Okay, I want to break these down, but I have to say, just hearing the description, it sounds incredibly rigid. The morning command, for instance. Rise before the world. Speak your aim aloud. Review your plan. Repeat affirmations with emotion. For someone already struggling, that sounds, well, kind of punishing, like another thing to fail at.
That's a really important point. And this is where the philosophy distinguishes between discipline and motivation. Motivation, it argues, is fickle. It comes and goes. Discipline, or establishing a rhythm, that's what creates lasting change. The rigidity isn't for punishment. It's to overwrite the old passive programming with a new, active rhythm of command. You command yourself first.
So you can command your circumstances later.
That's the idea. Command starts within. So those 3 commands create the structure for that self-command.
Okay, let's list them. Number 1, the morning command. Setting the intention, programming the aim for the day.
Number 2, the midday alignment. Actively check in. Are you on track? If not, correct course immediately. Don't put it off.
And number 3, the evening review. Measure what you actually accomplished, learn from the day, and crucially, visualize your success before sleeping. Let the subconscious work on it overnight.
And all of this feeds into the absolute core principle, action, the law of movement. The source is blunt here. He who waits serves the man who does not. Waiting isn't just pausing, it's actively moving backward. It's paralysis.
They argue most people fail not because they make the wrong move, but because they make no move at all. Hesitation is the real enemy. Wealth, success, whatever you call it, flows towards the person who acts, who decides, even under pressure.
The Lincoln Example fits here. Issuing the Emancipation Proclamation. It wasn't done when it was safe or easy or perfectly planned. It was a necessary decision made under immense pressure. Leaders create clarity through action. They don't wait passively for it to appear.
All those common excuses. I'm still researching. I'm not quite ready. I need to wait for the right time.
According to this philosophy, those are just fancy words for paralysis. Fear in disguise.
Which brings us to the end of this deep dive. The ultimate takeaway seems to be this required shift in identity, a refusal to be governed by fear, by routine, by just earning a wage. The world, this source claims, ultimately yields to the person who commands themselves.
Yeah, the difference between the laborer stuck in the system and the leader who creates their own path boils down to mastering your thoughts, imposing discipline through rhythm, and having the sheer courage to decide and act.
And for anyone listening who feels ready to make that shift, the source offers those 3 pillars of command as a starting point.
1. Write down that definite chief aim. Make it crystal clear, specific, and bold. No ambiguity.
2. Build daily command. Commit to that rhythm, the morning, midday, evening routines. Trust repetition, not fleeting motivation.
And 3, start building income streams. Actively use your mind, leverage systems, create something you own, rather than just trading your finite time for money.
This whole deep dive really challenges you, the listener, doesn't it? It demands you stop looking outwards for security to a job, a pension, the government, and start generating it internally through self-mastery and creation.
It's a call for radical self-reliance, mentally, first and foremost.
And the final thought this source leaves us with is pretty heavy. It forces you to think about legacy, about the consequences of inaction. Your delays become your chains. If you wait, if you hesitate, your children will serve the children of the man who didn't act. That really forces you to ask, what's the true long-term cost of just waiting?